Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Battle Superfluous. What are you drinking? Take a sip now. Do it. Just do it. That Screaming Eagle. The gentleman behind me there is Gandalf the Giraffe. I'm Paul Carganilla. I am the host for your BS tournament. This is the third battle of the first tournament, and 8 teams will enter. Only one will emerge. Battle Superfluous World Champions. Tonight's battle pits the yellow team against the red team, and they will be debating the topic drawn last week live online, which is worst way to go. Drowning alone in a room slowly filling with water versus publicly burned at the stake. And CJ won the secret Facebook advantage for the red team, and they chose to argue the side that it would be worse to drown alone in a room slowly filling with water. So yellow team will be battling in support that it would be worse to be publicly burned at the stake. The winner will move on to our final 4 next month, and as always, our winner is determined by a best of 3 verdict count. We have 2 guest judges sitting in with us live, but the third judge is you, the viewer at home. You have a 48-hour window after this battle goes live to hop on to facebook.com/battlesuperfluous to cast your vote, and if the judges' votes are split, it will be your vote that sends the winning team on to battle again. So let's meet our judges. We have kind of an accidentally percussion-themed show this week. Our judges are both professional drummers. We're going to start by introducing Matt. Matt, thank you for joining us. What are you drinking?
I am drinking Stay Strong margaritas.
Nice. And in 3 words or less, can you tell our competitors today what it is that will earn your vote tonight?
Well, Paul, it's definitely... I wish I was more prepared. I didn't know I was going to have to do this in 3 words, but...
That's too many words. All right, so we're moving on to Dan. What's up? What are you drinking?
Diet Coke, just for the taste of it.
Does it say share it with anybody on there?
Because you're a Paul star, I got the star one.
Nice. And in 3 words or less, if you can learn from Matt's mistake, what are you looking for? What's going to earn your vote here tonight?
I got depth, quality, and humor. Take that, Matt.
Yeah. Take following directions, Matt. All right, so let's meet our players. The yellow team consists of 3 awesome players, our first being Joe Cook. Joe, what are you drinking?
A combination of things. I've got this amazing yellow bottle, and I am drinking water because nobody's scared of water.
I see what you did there. The sword for the yellow team is Brandy Finmark. Brandy, what are you drinking?
I am drinking seltzer water with lime because I'm on a stupid cleanse for no reason.
Alan is the hammer for the yellow team. What are you drinking?
I am drinking Rondo, the Thirst Mutilator.
The red team boot is Maliabeth Johnson. Maliabeth, what's up? What are you drinking?
Hi, I'm drinking smart water so that I can try to be smarter right now.
The sword for the red team is CJ Pomerantz. CJ, what are you drinking?
A delicious Scotch whiskey.
Oh, nice. And the hammer for the red team is Barrett Tate. Barrett, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Sunny D.
Our wildlife, as always, is the man, the myth, and that's it. He claims he can milk a lemur with a turkey baster. He's Daniel Groders. And let's get started with Battle Superfluous Part 3. We are here debating the worst way to go. Drowning alone in a room slowly filling with water, or being publicly burned at the stake.
Well, thanks, Paul. While neither death would be a good way to go, there is no doubt that being burned at the stake is far, far worse than simply drowning. First, let's discuss just the action of being burned at the stake. This would be far more painful than drowning. Imagine, as the fire begins to consume your body, your skin beginning to bubble and melt away, the smell of your hair and skin burning, your internal organs liquefying from the heat. This is known as thermal decomposing. The heat would get so bad your organs begin to decompose. It is that thermal decomposing, the blood loss, and the shock that ultimately ends your life. I mean, a candle burns at 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. Put your hand over that for just 30 seconds and see how much pain you're in. And that is just one candle. Once after you begin to burn, the smoke created from the fire would get so extreme, you would begin to suffocate, which is the same cause and the same sensations of drowning. So the simple act of not being able to breathe, they're similar. So not just are you burning alive, but you're suffocating as well. Now, the Holy Bible refers multiple times to hell as fire, or a lake of fire. In Revelations 21:8, but the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, those who practice magic arts, and all liars, their place will be in a fiery lake of burning sulfur. Jesus Christ himself was willing to give his life because he realized how bad burning was, so that we, the people, would never have to feel his pain. Now, let's look at the idea of it being a public display. Imagine having your mother, sister, brother, daughter, father, son watching you burn at the stake. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. Even if it was a complete stranger, those images you were creating would be haunting. The sheer amount of pain that you would be experiencing would not allow you to connect with anyone, let alone have you enjoy your last moments. And let's not forget the fact that you were bound to the stake, unable to move, completely confined. I don't even want to get into how you would be bound because that's just too bad. The idea of burning is so bad that God himself sends those who are not worthy to burn in hell, a punishment only fit for the worst of humanity, a punishment considered so great it was the only way to rid the soul of evil. And finally, while drowning was used as a capital punishment, it is understood that drowning was the least brutal form of execution and therefore reserved primarily for women. Sorry, women, although favored for men, good men. Otherwise, being burned alive is far more worse than drowning. Okay.
First of all, I hate anticipation. And a room slowly filling with water, the anticipation of that for me is just way, way too much. I think about Star Wars, that scene when they're in the garbage compressor and it's slowly compressing and compressing and they start freaking out and R2-D2's in there. I literally got afraid of garbage compressors and they're not big enough to actually hold human beings. So the anticipation and being in that room, but you're by yourself. So that brings me to another point, which is dying alone. Jeff Buckley died alone by drowning. He was alone. He decided to go swimming fully clothed in the Mississippi River, and he died. And I love Jeff Buckley, loved. So overall, no matter what, I think dying alone with no one else there, no one that you love, really trumps any other way that you can die, completely. So the anticipation anxiety, the horror that will take over from that, it is also the third leading cause of unintentional death worldwide. People are more afraid of drowning. It's the #1 thing parents teach their kids. If you go to any major city in the U.S., the #1 community classes that are offered are infant swimming lessons. Infants, you guys. So drowning sucks. Another example would be when I lived in Hawaii and was completely encased with water by a wave. I didn't know what was down, what was up. I was just inhaling water and couldn't breathe, came out of the water, and I was traumatized, completely traumatized by that. So that is another thing that we have from that. Drowning. Also, you can't shout or call for help or do anything to help yourself out. So definitely drowning alone in a room that's slowly filling with water is far worse.
All right, so one of my favorite movies is The Abyss. Now, in The Abyss, they have to make a choice because the thing is filling with water. So Lindsay is like, you know what, bud? I'm just going to drown because then you can resuscitate me and you can revive me So she drowns on purpose, purposely drowns. I guarantee you. He was like, oh, one of us has to go burn at the stake. She'd be like, that's your, I can't say that word. This sucks. That's your job. So you go burn at the stake, you idiot. So she purposely drowns. Then he brings her back, and then you watch it happen, and they have to resuscitate her, but they rip her shirt off, and then you see boobs, and like when I was a kid, I was like, oh my god, boobs for the first time! So you see boobs, and then everyone's going to town on her chest, and then everyone's like blowing in her mouth, and if I was a ghost, if I was Ghost Brandy staring outside of my body, looking down on that scene, I'd high-five the shit out of myself, and then I would ghost masturbate, and I'd be like, this isn't a bad way to go. I got these perky tits. Everyone's on top of me trying to bring me back to life. And the best part is, she lives, you guys. They bring her back to life. You know who won't be brought back to life? A witch who was burned at the stake because her flesh just melts off of her face. It's not that bad to die alone. Everyone dies alone, you guys. Even if you're surrounded by people, you die alone. Oh, and there's a possibility that you can get out of a room slowly filling with water, and if not, you can pretend that you're a mermaid, and that would make me super happy. I would just swim around and be like, at least I get to die a mermaid, and then hopefully I can come back and ghost masturbate to myself. And you wouldn't be able to do that if you were burned alive, because everything would be dead.
So there's a few reasons that burning at the stake isn't that bad. First of all, it's a quick way to go. Drowning in a room by yourself is slow. The water is slowly filling. That's a key word in our statement. So it's going to take a long time. You're going to be totally aware. As Maliabeth said, apprehension. That sucks. In addition, to go with movies, to keep that theme that Brandy brought up, what movie was better? Titanic, a movie about hundreds and thousands of people drowning, or The Towering Inferno? Towering Inferno won like 2 Oscars, 3 Oscars. Titanic won like all of them. Let's see. How about some famous people who drowned? Let's see who we got. We've got Whitney Houston. We've got Natalie Wood. We've got Joseph Mengele. We've got Gregory Rasputin. And we've got Virginia Woolf. Name one famous person who was burned at the stake. Exactly. And again, aside from being painful but quick, most people who get burned at the stake or die in any sort of fire die of smoke inhalation. They're not even aware of the pain most of the time. So it's not that bad. Finally, what is the #1 best enhanced interrogation technique that we've found over the last 15 years? Waterboarding. Waterboarding is to simulate drowning. The whole point of waterboarding is that you make people feel like they're drowning, and that's how you get them to tell you something. So that's obviously worse than burning. We've been burning people to torture them for years, and that never did anything. They never told us what we wanted to hear. Jack Bauer, he waterboards somebody, he finds out where the bomb is, and he saves us.
All right, well, I've got a couple things, and I'm going to go pretty quick through this. So let's start with your crux of your argument is anticipation. While I look at that as actually an opportunity to make peace, to atone for all your sins. Talk to God. Make peace with where you're going. To me, that's a great way to go. You have the opportunity to relive all your life's memories. Not a scary thing. It could be scary, but it doesn't have to be. It could be a moment where you actually get to atone for your life. Also, when we talk about smoke inhalation is only caused if it's a large fire. We don't talk about the size of this fire. It could start with the size of a candle, and that grows, and then you're tortured the entire time. So smoke inhalation is specific to the size of the fire. Waterboarding is a good point, but again, that's a torture method. You can't torture people with fire because they die. Waterboarding, you can survive, and that's why they use that. As far as it being quick, it doesn't always have to be. The fire can start slow. It can burn up. It's not a flash fire where all of a sudden you're just thrown into like a flash fire. It's a slow process. It begins to build, and it burns your skin off. It is not a good way to go, and it's certainly way worse than drowning.
Okay, first of all, #1, oxygen deprivation. When we are in this room, we don't know how much oxygen is actually in this room, so oxygen deprivation, cardiac arrest. Then water inhalation, cardiac arrest. You have something called active drowning, which is you're unable to hold your mouth above the water, above to get actual air. As far as us getting out of it and still living and bringing people back to life and it being this whole romantic thing, Brandy, you know what? Brain damage. I don't think you really want to be with that person anymore. And for the last thing, as far as you guys being around people and it being in front of everything, maybe someone is filming it and it's going to be on YouTube and it'll be this big thing. Drowning alone is alone. No one's there. I'm not getting help. I'm not getting out. It sucks.
All right, so going over a lot of arguments that were brought up here. First of all, Maliabeth, anticipation is bad. Well, there's just as much anticipation if you're burned at the stake, because think about it. You get to be tied to a post, first of all, and then you get to watch as the crowd brings all the firewood and stacks it around you, and they probably douse you with, like, that special marinating, like, witch burning sauce that they put you with, and then you get to watch the guy walk up with the torch. That probably kind of sucks. So there's a lot of anticipation that goes with burning at the stake also. Not a great argument. So this one's a wash. 2, dying alone. You also sort of die alone at the stake if you think about it, because think about it. I mean, you don't have a loved one there who can hold your hand if you're burning at the stake, right? Because your hand is on fire. Maybe they could hold your shoulder. Oh, wait, no, they can't, because your shoulder's also on fire. The whole thing is on fire, so no one can hold your hand. So it sucks. 3rd, who is Jeff Bugley? This is not an argument. 4th, vote against Maliabeth because drinking smart water is cheating. Just saying. CJ, slow death. Again, for all the reasons that I brought up with Maliabeth, burning at the stake is also just as slow. I mean, you have to sit there and watch as people are bringing the firewood, and that's got to be a lot of anxiety, and it's just unnecessary. Let's see. Titanic won all the Oscars, so what I'm hearing is that drowning is awesome and clearly the better way to go. Your argument actually turns to our side. And then your 4th argument, apparently, your 3rd argument is waterboarding works. CJ is kind of all over the board on this. First he claims that torture doesn't work, and then he claims, oh wait, but waterboarding, i.e. torture, does work. So this, again, is not an argument. At the end of the day, none of the emotional reasons actually go against us. What you have to vote on is what is physically best for you, because that's the only thing that actually decides it. Fire is painful. Drowning is, medically speaking, the least painful way to go.
Okay, first and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone for being here. This is awesome, and I'd like to quote one of my favorite songs, 2 a.m., just breathe. When life gets hard, just breathe. When you're drowning, you can't do that. You literally can't do that. Your body says breathe, inhale. What fills your lungs is liquid. It's water. So, responding to the arguments. Now, as far as there being an equal amount of anticipation burning at the stake, the topic today is drowning slowly in a room alone. So, if anyone actually paid attention to the Titanic towards the end, the family sees the water coming in under the door. You can't do anything. You know you're going to die. That's a lot more anticipation. Plus, the next argument is that, well, either way, you're going to die alone. We're defending die alone. We defend die alone in a room. You can scream. You can do all you want. No one's coming. No one's there. The Coast Guard have like this mentality that we want people to not die slow, cold, and alone. Why? Because that's one of the worst ways. Especially what was brought up about waterboarding not being good torture. Waterboarding is... Okay, look. I'm not a member of the GOP, so please don't judge me on this. But look, waterboarding does... How many 9/11s? And on top of that, it scares the crap out of people. Like, waterboarding simulates drowning, meaning you know you're going to drown. That scares the crap out of you. You can burn yourself, and you're still going to touch the stove the second you get healed because your body's like, I may be able to handle it or I may not. You have one close to drowning experience, you are traumatized. You never want to go near water again. That proves that your body is biologically and genetically engineered to not want to slowly suffocate. That's the suffocation, not the smoke inhalation. That's not the same thing. You can still cough it out. You can cough out water. If you're slowly drowning in a room, that water goes back. And you're voting for red because the fact is, dying slowly alone in a room filling with water is the worst way to go.
This week's Battle Superfluous sponsor is Lone Star Percussion. Lone Star has been servicing percussionists everywhere since 1978. No matter what you play, drum set, world percussion, orchestral, or marching drums, Lone Star can fulfill your needs. Our top-notch staff has over 40 years of collective percussive experience, so visit them at LoneStarPercussion.com. Lone Star Percussion. We speak drums. If you'd like to sponsor a future battle, head on over to bsdebate.com and click on Sponsor BS.
Who goes first?
Ladies first.
I would just like to make a point that we're all in utero in liquid for 9 months. We breathe liquid for 9 months of our life.
And yet we don't want to go back.
I do?
That's not water.
Are you kidding? I would love to be inside
That
my
is
mom's
not
have
water,
gills.
though.
That's one thing. Having gills is one thing. You're talking about like
What's ghost masturbation?
Ghost masturbation.
Curious, sorry. Not part of this.
Ghost, and then you masturbate.
Okay,
Hey, you know
just
what?
curious.
If you are on the stake and you get burned, you get to yell at people and say, I'm going to come back and haunt you. I'm coming for you.
No, you can't yell at anyone. No one can hear you. You're dying.
No,
Can I
oh my
say that ghost
God, how many
masturbation is
movies
an
are there being
independent
burned
reason
at
to
the
vote
stake?
for us? I mean, Yellow Team is clearly holding the round with that one.
And this idea that you can't breathe, I mean, it's the same idea when you're burning at the stake. You're going to have so much smoke, you're not going to be able to breathe. So it's really a wash there as well. You're not going to be able to breathe.
What if you're getting
inhaling
burned
water is
at
not the same as
stake
smoke.
by marijuana?
I think that's
Water is
outside
not
of
the
what
same
we're
as smoke.
talking about.
So on the off chance that the entire crowd who's extremely pissed off at you and willing to burn you at the stake decides to get you massive amounts of weed to get you high as you die, that'd be very nice of them, but I would put it rather unlikely.
And I think that goes back to dying alone. What kind of people go and watch a public burning? I mean, there got to be psychos and crazy
Hey,
people.
you know what? A lot of people
That was everyone.
The topic is that we are defending drowning alone.
Yeah,
Implies.
Please
Sorry.
continue.
Go, ladies first.
Okay, seriously, it's all about the fact, like you're saying, that you're dying alone. It's not about the fact that these people are your family. They're not your family. They want you dead. That's why you're being burnt at the stake. But they're people. They're still human beings. There's still someone there witnessing it. And we all like the idea that our legacy, our memories are going to live on with other people. If you die alone, you're alone. No one saw it. No one witnessed it. It didn't happen.
Yeah, but everyone knows you died. You miss Jeff Buckley because he died. His legacy lives on. He didn't have to be burned at the stake in front of millions of people.
Yeah, but
Have a
fires
legacy.
still happen. Fires still happen. No one really cares. Titanic happens once and people freak out, meaning
No, they
we don't
don't.
want that to
That
happen
family-
again.
Movie out of it
that
75 years
family-
later.
You guys, that family,
That's
that,
Jesus.
Like
That's
movie
Jesus
that
if fire happens, right?
that
This
family
wasn't
that
on
was
fire.
watching the water come in, she was able to tell her kids she loves them and read them a bedtime story. That
And look
was
at what-
nice.
And look at what memories you're leaving of your charred corpse on a stake.
No. But this is
Have you
about
ever
being
seen someone who
alone,
died of drowning?
slowly filling with water.
Slowly filling with water, knowing that you
Slowly.
can't go anywhere.
One room.
And what about the emotional
No
scars
exit.
you're leaving behind on your family members who watch?
That is the end of our open forum.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. This has been awesome. But I'd like to point out that there's anticipation because there is water slowly coming into that room. You're dying slowly. And on top of that, your body's immediate reaction is to do what? Breathe. Just breathe. You're going to hold your breath because you don't want to inhale water, and eventually you're going to do the one thing you don't want to do, inhale water. Then your body's going to asphyxiate, and you can't do anything about it. And you're alone. There's no one there to hear you scream. There's no last words. You're dying slow, cold, and alone, knowing 100% that no one will be there to even have the possibility to save you. You still have a chance of hope with burning at the stake. Drowning is worse.
Okay, so I want to go back to the waterboarding topic because a lot of people brought this up and this was sort of big. I got to say that if you're drowning because there's a room filling with water, you're not going to go like waterboarding where someone is shoving water down your throat. It's just, look, we've had a lot of reports from near drowning victims, and they all say that it's just like you start breathing because eventually your body just says, I need to breathe no matter what. And it's like you're breathing, only you're breathing water, and then you pass out from lack of oxygen. It's literally one of the medically most painless ways to go. Which brings me back to to the overarching, I think, topic, or I think thing that's going to carry us here is that, I mean, when you're comparing the two, there's emotional pain on both sides. You're really dying alone either way. I mean, being burned in front of a crowd of people, yeah, it's a crowd of people. It's a crowd of people who all want you dead. I mean, is that really what you want? That's just as emotionally painful for me. The thing that really decides it for me is the fact that, I mean, drowning is just so painless versus burning at the stake, which is just so enormously painful. It's a clear win for the yellow team.
So I'm having a real hard time because of the ghost masturbation. I've lost my mind a little bit since that initial, and I haven't really listened to anything. But I have a couple thoughts that I'm trying to remember here for you guys. I want you guys, the judges and the contestants, to think about a few small items. One thing is, I want to give you a little word of advice. A straight foot is never afraid of a crooked shoe. That's one, okay? Number two is a cardboard belt would be a waste of paper. And then a judge who jumps off a cliff jumps to conclusion. So I want you to remember those things, take them to heart in your soul, inside your ghosts, and remember me tonight with this face. Enjoy. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, no, thank you, Danny.
Maliabeth, you brought up a really good point, and I just want to pose a question to Brandy regarding. She mentioned that they have a lot of drowning prevention. Brandy, how would you answer the question? Should we start doing some fire burning training? I don't know, somehow to keep kids from feeling like it's going to be really bad to be burned. And number two, should we in fact start doing some torturing to make fire torture have a little bit more respect?
The thing is like, okay, prevention, you have these drowning classes. I don't know, like survival of the fittest, dude. You know what I mean? You can't hack it. You jump in a pool, you can't survive. I mean, get out of here, But they don't have fire prevention classes because you can't survive a fire. You're just gonna die. So they don't have fire prevention because that's pretty pointless. They're gonna be like, well, I don't know, try to get out of there. And I would clearly rather just drown away. So why does the CIA not use fire torture? Is that what you're asking?
And yes, could we implement it in some way?
I mean, I'm pretty sure those things exist and we just don't know about it because we're not in the CIA. Like, I'm sure that people get burned. I'm sure that they hold candles or flames or torches or whatever to people's ball sacks, and I'm sure that these people get tortured with fire just the same way as they do with waterboarding, but for some reason waterboarding got out, which also, waterboarding sounds like a real fun sport. I'm just saying that, like, if someone was like, you want to go waterboarding this weekend in Tahoe? I'd be like, yeah, I want to go waterboarding. I mean, I would hate it after, because I'd be like, this wasn't what I thought it was. But even waterboarding has a really sweet, delightful sound to it. Whereas, like, being burnt or, like, being torched into flames sounds terrible. And so I'm sure that it is there. We just don't hear about it.
Maliabeth, real quick, I just like to give you a chance to try to unconvince me, because right now I really like the sound of waterboarding.
Okay, well, go ahead and look at a few YouTube videos on waterboarding. It's been brought up a lot in many discussions as far as it should be completely taken off as far as punishment. But drowning is something that's been used as capital punishment all the way back to the Middle Ages. They even used it when they didn't have enough wood to actually burn people at the stake. They then would take those witches and they would drown them to death. It was also used as a way to decide if someone was a witch or not. If you threw her in a big thing of water and she floated up and started breathing, then she was a witch. If she fell to the bottom and died, she was a person. So not very effective, she died. But the whole point is that it was still used as a form of punishment. There are many different ways that this has been used as punishment. It's also a fear that people have. For me, if I had aquaphobia, just Skyping with you right now, I wouldn't be able to sit here looking at your pool. Because more people are afraid of drowning, So therefore, being death a subjective thing, we're dead no matter what. If you're afraid of drowning, drowning is going to be the worst way to die. And more people on this planet are afraid of drowning. Being afraid of something makes it the ultimate way to not die. Do not do that.
All right, so I have a question that kind of goes for both teams. Well, I'd like to ask Joe and CJ to kind of defend this kind of thought that I have, taking it a little bit deeper. And my kind of thought is, when I think about burning at the stake, it's because a bunch of people want you dead. And when I think of drowning alone in the room, it's kind of pointless. You're drowning for no reason. Nobody's making you die. You're just dying. Can you both kind of give me examples why it's worse to either die for no reason or to die because people want you dead?
Well, I would start with that while both of these, drowning and burning, have actually been used as a type of capital punishment, drowning was used in the 18th century, but they identified that it was the least brutal way to die, and it was reserved for women and men of wealth back in those days. As far as being burned on the stake, yeah, I would think that would typically be always as capital punishment because it's so harsh. It's such a horrible way to go that you can only reserve it for the worst of mankind.
Well, to actually answer Dan's question, I would say that there's nothing worse than being ignored. Being ignored is worse than being hated. If people ignore you, it means nobody cares about you. They don't care about you one way or the other. So if you're dying alone and this room is slowly filling with water, it means that people have time to save you and nobody takes the time to do it. At least if you're being burned at the stake, there are some people there, your family or whatever, who may love you, and at least you're inspiring passion from the other side of the people who hate you. Like, there's some sort of reaction as opposed to, where is everyone? Being ignored is worse than being hated.
Thank you to everyone who took part in this third Battle Superfluous debate. That was a really fun battle, and I can't wait to see either of these teams again. And thank you to all of our players, all of our viewers. I had a great time. I hope you did too. This is Battle Superfluous. We'll see you at the next one.